starseeds and lightworkers, the exhaustion you have been carrying, the kind that lives beneath the surface, too deep for rest to reach. It is not a sign that you have fallen short. It is proof of how long you held the light when the world around you could not feel it. I am Tyron, a representative of the High Council of Sirius, and what I want you to know, right now, in this moment, is that what you have been calling your weakness is actually your record. A record of every wave you steadied, every frequency you anchored, every night you held on without knowing why. By the end of this message, you will understand why the stillness you are entering now is not an ending, but a new kind of mission, one that begins with you finally allowing yourself to receive. See, every starseed who carries Sirian codes reaches a threshold where the body grows quiet and the soul grows loud, a phase where the pushing stops and something deeper takes over, something that asks you to be still before it shows you what comes next. That stillness is not emptiness. It is the water after a long storm, finally finding its level. Calm on the surface, but everything in motion underneath. The heaviness you have been feeling is not the weight of failure. It is the weight of completion. A chapter closing the way chapters do, not with applause, but with silence. And in that silence, something ancient in you is being restored. You did not arrive here by accident. Something in you recognized this signal and followed it across the noise. That recognition matters. It means you are ready for what the waters are now carrying toward you. Stay with me until the end. What comes next is not instruction. It is remembrance. And I am grateful you are here with me now. There's a reason water has always felt like home to you. If what you're feeling right now is confirming something you've carried your whole life, the Sirian Water Codes is your next step. It holds ancient Sirian healing practices passed down through the waters themselves, techniques for releasing energy that was never yours, activating dormant memory through the sound of rain, and sealing your frequency with salt and intention. You'll find the link in the first pinned comment, but only briefly. That ache you've been living with, the one that doesn't quite have a name, isn't emptiness. It's overflow. It's what happens when a soul carries something vast through circumstances that were never designed to hold it. You were not built for small spaces. You were not built for the kind of forgetting this world asks of everyone who walks into it. And yet you walked in anyway, fully, willingly, because something in you knew that the remembering would matter more than the comfort. Think about that for a moment. The courage it takes to choose incarnation, to step willingly into the veil of forgetting, to compress something boundless into something finite, is not the courage of ignorance. It is the courage of deep knowing. You did not stumble into this life confused. You arrived with intention. And even when the weight of this world pressed in from every direction, even when the noise of it drowned out the quieter signal beneath your own skin, something in you never fully let go of the thread. That thread is what brought you here. That thread is what has never stopped pulling. The ache you carry is not a wound. It is a watermark. It is the impression left by something larger than this lifetime, pressing itself into the contours of your human experience, saying, "This is not all there is. There is more. You carry more. You came from more." And because you are sensitive enough to feel that pressure, because you are open enough to receive that impression, it has sometimes felt unbearable. Like carrying an ocean inside a vessel made for a lake. Like hearing music in a language no one around you recognizes. Like standing in a crowded room and feeling completely, cosmically alone. See, that loneliness is not a flaw in you. It is evidence of your depth. Most starseeds reach this point not through failure, but through completion. The confusion that set in wasn't a sign that you were moving in the wrong direction. It was the signal that a phase had ended, that what you were holding was no longer asking to be held, but to be released. The water gets murky before it clears. That's not a problem. That's the process. And the fact that you're still here, still listening, still reaching for something that feels true, that tells everything about where you are in this cycle. There is something important about the way completion feels. Because the world has trained us to recognize completion as a triumphant arrival, a summit reached, a door opened, a clear and shining moment of yes, this is it. But spiritual completion rarely feels that way. It often feels like the bottom of something. It feels like exhaustion. It feels like confusion so thorough that you begin to question not just your direction, but your nature. And that is precisely because the end of a cycle is a dissolution. And dissolution, by its very definition, does not feel like building. It feels like coming apart. Like the structures you built to make sense of yourself and your place in this world are suddenly not holding in the way they once did. That's not catastrophe. That's transformation. The caterpillar inside the chrysalis is not half a butterfly. It is dissolved completely. And from that dissolution, something that could not have existed in the previous form begins to take shape. What you are in right now is the chrysalis moment. And if it feels like falling apart, it is because something that was never truly you is finally releasing its hold. That is not loss. That is excavation. That is the water doing its sacred ancient work, moving through you, carrying away what was never meant to stay, revealing the architecture that was always there beneath it. The soul amnesia that so many starseeds experience in this lifetime isn't accidental. It's part of the architecture. You came in without the full memory because the mission required you to navigate this world as a human first, to feel its weight, absorb its frequencies, understand its pain from the inside. That required forgetting, not permanently, just long enough. And what feels like the longest struggle of your life has actually been the preparation for the part that comes next. You're like a river that carves a canyon before it finds the sea. The depth of the passage is proportional to what was carried through it. The forgetting was never a punishment. It was a parameter. Think of it like this. When a healer goes to work in a field hospital, they must understand the terrain. They must understand what the wounded are moving through, not from a safe and sterile distance, but from the inside. You could not have arrived here in full cosmic recall, untouched by the density of this dimension, and still been able to do what you came here to do. The forgetting made you human. And being human, truly, vulnerably, completely human, is not beneath your nature. It is the assignment. Every moment of pain you have lived through, every moment of confusion, every long night spent wondering if you were losing your mind or missing something enormous. All of it was the river carving deeper. All of it was the preparation that no classroom could have offered, because it had to be lived, fully, in the body, in real time. And the preparation is not wasted, not a single moment of it. Because what the river carves, it carves with intention. The canyon it cuts is not accidental geography. It is the precise shape of what was carried. And that shape, that depth, that breadth, is now the vessel through which something new and vast can finally move. There is a blueprint inside you, not metaphorically, but encoded in the very frequency of your energy body. written in a language that predates every civilization this world has ever built. And the ancient ones who aligned their temples to the stars of Sirius understood something that has been waiting to resurface in this era: that the human body is not just a physical vessel. It is a receiver, a transmitter, a living instrument tuned to frequencies that most of this world has forgotten were even possible. And your instrument, whether or not you've felt it clearly lately, has never stopped receiving. Sirius has held a singular place in the consciousness of humanity across virtually every ancient culture that left a record behind. The Egyptians watched for the heliacal rising of Sirius, the moment each year when that brilliant star reappeared in the dawn sky after its absence, as the signal of the Nile's annual flood, the return of fertility, the renewal of life itself. They called it the soul of Isis. They built entire temple complexes with their axes aligned to receive the light of Sirius directly into their inner sanctuaries on specific days of the year. The Dogon people of West Africa possessed knowledge of Sirius and its companion star centuries before Western astronomy could confirm that companion's existence. Across civilizations separated by continents and millennia, the same signal was being received. The same connection was being honored. And that connection is not merely historical. It is alive. It is pulsing. And it is pulsing in you right now, in this moment, whether you can feel it distinctly or not. Because the blueprint was never erased. It was only covered, layer by layer, year by year, by the accumulating weight of this world's amnesia. But covered is not deleted. Buried is not destroyed. And the work of awakening is not the work of creating something new. It is the work of uncovering what was always there, like an archaeologist brushing sand from an artifact that has waited in darkness for thousands of years. Your work is not construction, it is revelation. What feels like confusion is transition. What feels like stalling is anchoring. The water in a wide, still pool isn't stagnant. It's deepening, preparing for the next movement through the landscape. Your soul is doing the same. It has absorbed more than you consciously know. It has held more than you have been given credit for. And this stillness, this strange, sometimes suffocating stillness that has made you question everything, is not the absence of movement. It is the moment just before the current shifts direction entirely. And the human mind struggles with sacred stillness because it has been conditioned to equate movement with progress and quiet with stagnation. We have been trained to produce, to demonstrate, to show our work in visible and measurable ways. But the most profound processes in nature happen in invisibility. The seed germinates in darkness, beneath the soil, with no external signal of what is building. The tides gather their force in the deep before they move the shore. The storm organizes itself in the atmosphere long before it becomes visible on the horizon. You cannot rush the germination. You cannot hurry the tide. And you cannot force the timing of what is being built in the quiet places of your own becoming. This is why the stillness is sacred. Not because nothing is happening, but because everything is happening at a level beneath ordinary perception. Your energy body is reorganizing. Old pathways are dissolving and new ones are forming. Dormant codes are being activated in sequence, in an order that your conscious mind was never meant to direct. The instruction is to trust the process. And trust, as any starseed knows, is not passive. It is an active and courageous act of alignment. It is choosing, again and again, to remain open when every conditioned impulse says to contract. The phases of awakening are not linear. They are tidal. They pull back before they return. They go quiet before they surge. And the phase you are in right now, the one that feels like waiting, like limbo, like wondering if you missed something or lost something. This phase is one of the most sacred, the entire cycle. Because it is here, in the stillness, that the codes begin to come online. Not dramatically, not with fanfare, quietly, like a light that has always been present, finally beginning to be seen. There is a kind of light that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with a flash or a signal. It simply increases, so gradually that you might not notice it until you look back and realize you can see things now that were obscured before. That is the light of the codes activating. That is the remembering beginning to move, not as a flood, but as a dawn, slow, steady, and irreversible. And once the light begins, it does not go back. The tide of remembering, once it turns, does not retreat to where it came from. It carries you forward, always forward, even when it feels circular, even when you feel like you are revisiting familiar ground. Because you are revisiting it from a different elevation, and what looked like a maze from below becomes a pattern when seen from the height of even a small amount of gained perspective. The fog you've been moving through is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is what happens when old patterns begin to dissolve. And not all of them were yours to begin with. Starseeds are sensitive by design. That sensitivity is not a flaw. It is the exact capacity that allowed you to receive what you were sent here to carry. But it also meant that along the way, you absorbed frequencies that were never part of your original blueprint. Emotions that didn't begin in you. Beliefs that were placed there by a world that was trying to make you legible to itself. Weight that settled into your field not because it belonged there, but because you were open enough to take it in. Consider what it means to move through this world with your level of perceptual sensitivity. Every room you've ever walked into, you felt before you understood. Every relationship you've ever held, you sensed at a level that went far beyond words and behavior. You felt what people were carrying beneath what they were saying. You felt the weight of rooms that had witnessed grief, the residue of conflict in spaces long after the conflict had ended, the unspoken pain of people who swore they were fine. And you carried it, because you could, because your field was wide enough and open enough to receive it. And because no one ever taught you that receiving and retaining were different things, that you could feel something fully without keeping it, that you could witness something completely without it becoming part of your own burden. That distinction between receiving and retaining is one of the most liberating things a starseed can internalize. And it begins not with technique, but with recognition. The recognition that most of what has been making you heavy is not yours, not even close. It passed through you. It used your sensitivity as a door, and it settled in the way sediment settles. Not aggressively, not dramatically, but gradually, layer upon layer, until the accumulation became something you mistook for yourself. You have permission to let that go now. All of it. You don't need to understand every layer of it. And you don't need to trace it back to its source or process it in the way this world says healing must look. You simply need to recognize that it was never yours and allow the current to carry it away. The river does not grieve the stones it releases. It trusts that what it no longer needs was only ever part of the passage, not the destination. Water has always been the most ancient metaphor for this kind of release because water actually does it, perfectly, perpetually, without ceremony or resistance. Water does not hold a stone because it feels responsible for the stone. Water does not carry debris out of guilt. It moves according to its nature, and in that movement, what does not belong to the current is simply carried elsewhere. You have that same capacity. Your energy body, your field, your consciousness, they know how to release, and they have always known. What gets in the way is the mind that interprets holding as care and releasing as abandonment. But the river knows something the analytical mind struggles to accept. Release is not the end of the relationship with what was carried. It is the completion of it. And completion is not loss. It is wholeness. The relationships that have shifted around you are not casualties. They are confirmation. When a frequency changes, everything in its proximity responds. And not everything that was calibrated to an older version of you can travel into what comes next. That's not abandonment. That's alignment. The people who are meant to recognize your frequency in its current form will find you, not because you searched for them, but because signal calls to signal. The waters of Sirius have always known this. What resonates will gather. What doesn't will drift apart. And both are acts of love. There is a grief that accompanies frequency shifts that doesn't often get named, and it deserves acknowledgement here. Because the people who drift away were often real. The connections that restructure themselves were often meaningful. The love was genuine, even when the resonance no longer aligns. And holding both of those things simultaneously, the grief of what is shifting and the trust in what is aligning, is not contradiction. It is the full complexity of a soul in motion. You are allowed to feel the loss. You are allowed to mourn the version of your life that those connections represented. And simultaneously, in the same breath, in the same open heart, you are allowed to feel the rightness of what is moving. And the Sirian understanding of connection was never about permanence for its own sake. It was about authentic resonance, about the quality of the contact, not merely the duration of it. And by that measure, every relationship you have ever held has been sacred, even the ones that could not continue into where you are going. Your timing is not broken. You are not late. You are not behind the starseed beside you, or the one you read about, or the version of yourself you thought you'd be by now. The detours were not detours. The delays were not delays. Every moment you spent not understanding what you were feeling was actually a moment of integration. Your system doing the deep, invisible work of processing what your conscious mind could not yet hold. In the Sirian records, there is no such thing as a late awakening, and there is only the moment the soul is ready. And yours is unfolding right now, in exactly this form, at exactly this depth. The comparison trap is particularly insidious for starseeds because the awakening community itself can inadvertently become a new arena for the old wound of not being enough, not moving fast enough, not knowing enough. You see someone speaking with what sounds like complete clarity about their star origin, their mission, their multidimensional experiences, and something in you wonders, why isn't that my experience? Why am I still in the fog when they seem to be standing in full light? But here is what that comparison cannot see: the full arc of anyone else's journey. What you witness in another is a single frame of a film you have not watched from the beginning. You do not see the years of darkness that preceded their clarity. You do not see the specific configuration of their path, the exact nature of what was required of them, the shape of the canyon their particular river had to carve. Every awakening is as individual as the soul experiencing it. And the one thing that all of them have in common is this: they could not have been rushed. Not a single one. They arrived in the moment they were meant to arrive. And so are you. The Sirian cosmology understood time not as a straight line moving from past to future, but as something more like the movement of water, spiraling, deepening, sometimes appearing to circle back before revealing that it has actually advanced to an entirely different level. What feels like repetition in your experience is rarely genuine repetition. It is the spiral returning to a similar position, but at a new depth, offering you access to something that was present before, but that you now have the capacity to receive in a way you didn't previously. Every time you have felt like you were covering old ground, something new was being made available. The apparent sameness was the container. The actual content was different, and you were taking in more than you knew. You are not here to perform your awakening for a world that needs visible proof. You are not here to be the loudest voice or the most decorated light. You are here to be present, fully, authentically, completely present, in a way that only a soul with your specific frequency can be. The ones who built the temples by the Nile, who aligned the great structures to the Sirian star system with a precision that still confounds modern understanding, knew this: the most powerful act is not the grand gesture. It is the quiet alignment of a soul with its true nature. That alignment, sustained, even imperfectly, even through the fog, changes things. It changes the field around you. It changes the people who pass through your life without either of you knowing why. It ripples outward in ways you may never see, but that the waters of this universe will carry for longer than you can imagine. The Great Pyramid at Giza, the Temple of Isis at Philae, the ancient shaft that points directly toward where Sirius rose on the horizon at the time of its construction. These were not architectural accidents. They were the physical embodiment of a spiritual understanding so precise that it required the alignment of stone and star across vast distances of both space and time. And the people who built them, who designed those alignments, who lived their lives in service of that cosmic precision, they were not performing. They were not seeking external validation. They were expressing an inner truth with such integrity, such consistency, such sustained devotion, that the stones themselves became an instrument of transmission. Those stones still transmit. Thousands of years later, they still carry the frequency that was encoded into their placement. That is what sustained alignment does. That is the power of a soul that refuses to abandon its true nature, regardless of what the surrounding world is doing. You carry that same capacity for transmission, not through stone, but through presence, through the quality of your attention, the sincerity of your care, the quiet constancy of a frequency that keeps returning to its truth even after every storm. You are not aware of the full reach of what you carry. You cannot be, from inside this dimension, from inside this incarnation. But the awareness of your full reach is not required for the transmission to occur. The tuning fork does not need to know how far its sound travels. It simply needs to hold its frequency. And you have been holding yours, sometimes brilliantly, sometimes barely, sometimes through nothing but sheer and exhausted will. And it has been reaching further than you know. You're not lost. You never were. You chose to forget, not because you were fragile, but because the kind of awakening you are here to experience required you to find your way back from the deepest depth. Like a pearl that can only form under pressure, in darkness, at the bottom of the ocean. What you are becoming could only be shaped by exactly what you've been through. Every moment of confusion was the water working on you, smoothing away what didn't belong, revealing what was always there underneath. The pearl is perhaps the most precise metaphor for the starseed experience in this lifetime. It begins with an irritant, something foreign, something that doesn't belong, something that creates discomfort simply by its presence. And the response of the living creature inside that shell is not to reject the irritant, not to ignore it, but to surround it, layer by layer, with something luminous, with something that is entirely its own production. the discomfort becomes the core of the beauty. The thing that didn't belong becomes the center of the thing that does. And what emerges from that process is something that could not have existed without exactly that irritant, in exactly that shell, in exactly that depth of water, over exactly that span of time. Your life, with all of its friction and all of its pressure and all of its moments of diving into darkness you did not choose, it has been making a pearl. The beauty is already there. It has been forming the entire time, while you were focused on the discomfort of the process. And what is emerging now, in this phase, in this particular stillness, is the pearl becoming visible. Not because the pressure is over, necessarily, but because enough layers have accumulated that the luminosity has begun to be detectable. You are beginning to be visible to yourself, and that visibility changes everything. You are not here to fit into this world. You are here to gently, quietly, powerfully remind it of something it forgot. And the fact that you are here right now, that you stayed, that you listened, that something in you kept saying yes to this message even when your mind wasn't sure why, that tells everything. You're ready. Not because everything is resolved, not because the path ahead is clear, but because you are still here, still open, still choosing to remember. The world does not need you to be extraordinary in the way it defines extraordinary. It does not need more performance, more volume, more visible achievement. What it desperately, quietly, or urgently needs is the presence of souls who have not forgotten, who carry within them, even imperfectly, even through the fog, the frequency of something older and truer and more whole than what this dimension has managed to hold on its own. That is your function. Not to fix the world by force, but to remind it by frequency. Not to argue it into a higher state, but to transmit one. The way a tuning fork in a room full of instruments does not have to explain its pitch. It simply sounds, and what is capable of resonating with it begins to vibrate in kind. You are a living tuning fork for frequencies this world has been missing. And every time you choose to stay connected to what is true in you, every time you choose presence over performance, depth over display, an authentic experience over the curated version that would be easier to explain, you are sounding your note into a room that needs it more than you know. Tonight, if it feels right, place your hand over your heart. Let the breath come slowly, and say quietly to yourself, to the waters that carried you here, I remember who I am. I trust what is moving through me. I am ready to flow into what comes next. Let that land without analysis. Let it move through you the way water moves through stone, not by force, but by patient, persistent contact. Let the words find the places in you that have been waiting to hear them. And if something shifts, even something small, even something you can't name, trust that. That unnamed movement is real. It is the frequency responding. It is the codes recognizing the call. And it is the water remembering where it came from and where it is going. Leave one word in the comments, just one, that describes what moved through you during this message. Then find someone else's word and respond with recognition. This space is not just a comment section. It is where starseeds find each other. And that recognition carries more power than you know. If this message reached something real in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you'd like to keep receiving these transmissions, subscribe. The waters of Sirius will carry us to the next one. You're not just watching, you're remembering. This is your space, and I am grateful you were here.